This week is the T-Rex 2, the sequel, the next generation, whatever you want to call it really. It is the Remington T-Rex Bullpup. Hello and welcome to AAR On Air. Recently I reviewed the Remington T-Rex and I really liked it. It's great fun and accurate. This week is the Bullpup version. Is it going to be just as good? And is it just a smaller version of its sibling? First of all then, let's do the walk around, shall we? It is 840mm or around 33 inches long and tips the scales at 2.5 kilograms or 5 pound 8 ounces. So it's not overly long and it's not overly heavy at all. And because it's a bullpup, its weight is nice and back in the shoulder. Now when I first picked this up, it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. I was looking for the Toblerone shaped silencer on the end, but no, it has a shroud rather than a silencer, and the barrel isn't threaded on the end for you to change this out and add a silencer of your choice. At this point, it's worth mentioning that whilst it isn't overly loud, it isn't hush quiet either. And if you have very fussy neighbours, then the ability to quieten this down a little further would be a nice to have, but probably not a deal breaker. The air cylinder isn't pulled from the T-Rex rifle either. It more resembles the smaller, thinner cylinder from the PR900 Gen 2, which means it's likely to have a lesser shot count. It does carry, though, the Picatinny rail for mounting a scope on the top, but no open sight option. The gauge is the same as the PR900, also on the front of the tube, highlighting its maximum fill pressure of 250 bar and colour-coded red, green and amber to help with clarity. There is a side lever rather than a bolt action, and it is really quite smooth for a gun in this price bracket. It has quite a long action, but no complaints at all. This is classed as ambidextrous, and indeed it is. The stock is polymer and has the same grip markings as the rifle, and is indeed ambidextrous. The side lever is interchangeable from right to left, but when taking this apart, that isn't as easy as some people would want it to be. The only thing that truly prevents this from being ambidextrous is the magazine, because this can only be loaded from one side and is really quite proud when loaded into the gun. This is likely to be an annoyance if you're trying to shoot this left-handed. The stock is a decent quality plastic. I wouldn't call it ballistic polymer because it has seam lines down the length of it, but it is pretty good quality and has quite a soft touch feel to it. Now at this point it is worth just reminding you that this is the budget range, not the top shelf book an appointment if you want to try section of the snooty shops. As I've said, the grip stippling is very much like the T-Rex rifle, along with the green lines and flashes. The top rail is Picatinny, and it's more than long enough for you to be able to fit a scope to get the right eye relief. It is set quite low, and you may probably want to go for slightly higher mounts to help you get comfortable, because there is no adjustment in the stock in the form of any sort of cheek riser. The thumb hole stock is finished off with a good quality rubberized butt pad. The trigger is 2-stage and it's fairly long. The safety is a lock type and is in front of the trigger housing, and it's a push from left to right for safe and right to left for fire. It is very defined and sure-footed. It can also be decocked by holding back on the side lever, pulling on the trigger and letting the lever forward. The last thing in the walk around is the front underside Picatinny, which is a nice rail for your bipods and the like. The magazines are from the T-Rex and are better quality than the PR900. They are 12 shot in 177, 10 rounds in 2.2 and 9 in 2.5. Loading the magazine is simplicity itself. Simply rotate the cover, turn the internals anti-clockwise until it locks, drop in your first pellet in the slot. It will then hold in place to allow you to drop all the rest of the pellets in. Once you've got it fully loaded, turn the cover back around and pull back, slot in, push forward. It's really very smooth. An interesting point here is they claim on the box it has a shot count of up to 300 shots per fill. I have no idea where they get this information from, because I would say it's good for around about a third of that. Let's get this out over the chronograph, shall we, and see how it performs in the power stakes. This is the 2.2 caliber for a change. It is available in 177 and 2.5s also, as I've already said. So the starting point with this is going to be the standard 15.89 grain pellets. And with these on board, it saw 540 feet per second, which is 10.29 foot-pounds or 13.95 joules. So then I tried the heavier 18.13 grain pellets, and with these on board, it saw 512 feet per second, which is a slightly higher 10.56 foot-pounds or 14.31 joules. Now, I normally work on about 10% deviation from the 12 foot-pound max, which takes one down to about 10.8 foot-pounds. And with that in mind, I would prefer to have seen this a little higher in the power stakes. And as such, I'll be probably getting this back to the importers to tweak it up a little. With the regulator on board, that shouldn't be too difficult a job. And yes, this is regulated. But we drive what we brung, as it were. So, time to get this out on the range and test its accuracy. It does come with an included scope, which I would probably affectionately call a starter scope. It is a 3-9 by 40 fixed focus item, but I will be dropping a better scope on it for the testing because I can and I prefer to use decent glass. So, Veyron on board, out at 40 metres. Here goes. The T-Rex Bullpup. But it isn't, not really. What it is a very good PR900 Bullpup, dressed up in green and black. Okay, they want to go down the T-Rex theme. They've written T-Rex all over it. It's even got the same grip. It's yeah, very similar in design on the stock, etc., with the green around the butt plate. But it's not a T-Rex, not with the Toblerone end and everything else. So the thing really we're going to do now is find out whether it's accurate. The only thing is, which makes an absolute change, this is a 2.2 caliber, not a 177, as is normally my favourite. Not only that, it's a cold morning in October. Leaves are all coming off now. It's starting to very much look autumnal, going to winter. And there's a breeze. And in points, it's quite a heavy breeze. I've popped a Veyron scope on it because that's what I've got lying around, and it's quite short and neat and it looks the part. There is no additional silencing facility on there, but it's not loud. It's probably high pitched. You can hear it a little bit rattling round, but it's not intrusive. If you wanted to get it any quieter, you've got a bit of a job on, and who knows, maybe somebody does some sort of adapter. They usually do. They turn around and say 300 shots. Well, I've been doing a bit of practicing down here to zero it in, and I've probably got through a good 4 magazines worth, which is 10 rounds in a 2.2 magazine, and I've gone from 200 bar down to about 150-ish. So work it out yourself really. It does go to a 250 fill pressure, even from this little tiny tube, which is a bit scary really. The dust cover is a rotate, pop in the filler probe and away you go. Easy as it can be really. The side lever is a little long, but you know what, when you're using it you can feel it really smooth, so I've got no complaints about that, even though you do feel like you're pulling it into next week. The other thing that I should say before I crack on at 40 meters is I thought I'd put in some jumbo RS, which are 13.43 grain. I don't know, maybe it's me just trying to get it down to 177 territory, which you're not really going to do that well, just trying to speed it up because this was slightly down on power. I tried it, it didn't really seem to like the JSBs. Now, I'd been given some JTS dead centers, and everybody that seems to be using them are going quite crazy about them. They think they're really good. And when you open them up, I don't know, they're very reminiscent to QYSs. Now, QYS don't do them in 2.2, they only do them in 177. So, is this a way that they're actually marketing them and getting them out in 2.2? I don't know. But pop them in here, and it really seems to like them. Chinese gun, Chinese pellets, But there you go. So now all I've got to do is replicate what I was achieving before. The only thing is the wind's getting up. I'll do my best. That wind really is getting up. So let's not judge too heavily the gun in conditions like this, but let's see if we can get it to group somewhat. That is really quite windy. We're going to be covered in leaves as we go on. It's in the red. It's touching. That was my fault, went a bit prematurely. I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're actually running low on air now, if I'm perfectly honest. Now the other feature you've got on this as well is you can decock it, which is nice. So we are starting, yeah, we're dropping on power now. Excuse me. So it really wants a pump up before we do anything else. Let me just go and get the target. Okay, that's with excuse me, with it being a 2.2, it's just very quickly made one big hole. I'm more used to now shooting 177, and you get a tighter group because it's not just tearing the paper apart. It has torn the paper apart. There is one main group area, and then it started to just drop off. I think this wants a bit more air in it, to be fair. But in windy conditions like this, and it's coming and going, so it's throwing you all over the place, I don't think that's a bad result. I would love to have tried this in a 177 because I've shot the PR900s before, so it's going to be the same barrel, same everything else, and they are remarkably accurate for the money. I think this is less than 300 quid. Yeah, all right, I put a decent scope on it, but less than 300 quid, it's not bad at all. the safety is really solid. You feel like you've rammed a 5-bar gate through. So there's no sloppiness about it at all. No, I've got no problems with this gun at all. In fact, I really like this gun, but it's not exactly what I would call a T-Rex. They can call it what they like, it's their company, that's up to them. But if you've got a T-Rex already, this is not on the same platform. This is on the PR900 platform, and I think I've said that far too many times already. In which case, back to the studio. In conditions like that, I don't think that is a bad result at all. And this is well capable. Personally, I'd probably go for the 177 just to get that flatter trajectory, but I don't care what you got. On a day like that, it was going to affect your accuracy. You do get a feeling that this is well capable. Personally, I wouldn't call this the T-Rex Bullpup. I would call it the PR900 BP. And in doing so, you have a really nice setup with a regulator on board. You've got accuracy, you've got a reasonable shot count, a compact little item that won't disappoint or break the bank. If you want it quieter, then there are aftermarket companies who will supply the necessary adapter to fit an alternative silencer, I'm sure. At the end of the day, let's not lose sight of the cost of this, and being overly critical isn't really fair. It's great fun. It's accurate, as I've already said, and of course it's easy to use. That price then? Well, in the UK this is currently £295, so it's not likely to leave the family starving, and indeed it's likely to leave you a little left over to put a decent scope on top to help with the overall feel and enjoyment, and of course help tighten up those groups. You know, provided you realise this is a T-Rex stroke PR900 hybrid, you will have a really nice lightweight bullpup that is going to put a smile on your face and is capable of target work or some pest control. That's it for this week. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, feel free to share. Don't forget to click the alarm notification bell to keep informed of new releases. There is all of this little lot to check out, and the guys of course at Airgun Factory. Check out the AAR On Air website for merch and lots more. There are links below for the gear that I've been using if you want to know. A big thank you as always to the guys at Vector Air for getting hold of this for me to review for you. As always, the biggest thanks goes out to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. Please stay safe and shoot safe, and hopefully I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.